Hi and welcome to this Solidworks tutorial to create a bee house. The bee house I have designed has been 3D printed in a yellow dyed polyamide material. It is not 100% waterproof, but I use a clear paint to coat and seal my prints for outside use. You can read more about this in the Solidworks blog. To begin, start a new sketch onto the front plane. Sketch a rectangle. Then select the bottom edge of the rectangle and the axis point and add a midpoint relation. For the dimensions, the rectangle should be 68 in height and 70mm in length. Extrude this sketch by 17mm. For the honeycomb pattern, start a new sketch onto the front face of the extrusion. Use the polygon tool with 6 sides and draw a hexagon level with the axis using the smart guides, and ensure the hexagon sits horizontal like this. Starting with dimensions, the height of the hexagon is 14mm. I'm then adding a dimension from the axis to the centre of the hexagon with a distance of 37.5mm. To fully define the sketch, add a vertical relation from the hexagon centre point and the axis point. Then add a horizontal relation to the top edge of the hexagon. Once fully defined, go to Boss Extrude. For this feature, check Thin Feature. Change the thickness of the feature to 2mm and the direction to mid-plane, which you can see in the preview. Now change the extrusion depth to 16mm and uncheck Merge Result before okaying the feature. To pattern the feature, go to the Linear Pattern drop-down and select Fill Pattern. The Fill Pattern feature lets you fill a defined region with a pattern of features or a predefined cut shape. When the feature opens, you must select the boundary for the fill, so select this face. I then need to select what I want to pattern, which in my case is the thin feature body, so check Bodies and select the hexagon thin feature. A preview of the pattern should appear. The pattern layout should be on perforation, but needs spacing out. For instance spacing here, type in 14mm. Then I need to change the angle of instances so that they join into a honeycomb pattern. Right now they are overlapping. For this I need to type in 30 degrees. The preview will change and look like this, with all instances connecting. For the instance boundary here, this number dictates how much the pattern will overlap the border. I have -12 for this so that the pattern goes right over the edges. If I change it to 2mm, you'll see that the pattern is within the border and doesn't cover the whole face. So ensure this is on 12mm before okaying the feature. With the pattern in place, I need to take the combined feature and add all the honeycomb bodies together. I've just used Ctrl and A on my keyboard to select all, then unselect the back extrusion. This will combine the pattern into one body. To create an inner cavity for the bees, select the front face of the back extrusion and shell. Change the shell thickness to 2mm and OK it. Now to trim away the excess honeycomb. Start a sketch onto this face, selecting an inner edge of the shell like this. Select the loop, ensuring that you get the outer loop and convert the entities. You can then use that sketch to offset the entities. I'm offsetting these entities by 20mm so that it goes outside of the honeycomb body. Use this sketch and cut extrude through all, reversing the direction to trim away the excess pattern. With that done, I want to extend the box to hold the honeycomb. Sketch onto this face and convert the entities, both outer and inner. Extrude the sketch, changing the direction to up to vertex. For the vertex, select a front point of the honeycomb like this. Ensure Merge Result is ticked and OK the feature. The part is now all one body. The next part to do is to add a front frame to the house. Select the front face and start a new sketch. Convert the entities of the face. With the sketch highlighted, use Offset Entities and offset the sketch by 3mm and reverse the offset inwards. I can then extrude the frame by 2mm onto the house. The next part to create is the bee house side details to make the house more hive shaped. Start a new sketch onto the front plane. Take the centre line and draw from the top midpoint of the edge to the axis. With the line highlighted, turn on Dynamic Mirror Entities. That way you can sketch out both sides at once. Take the line tool and, starting from the top corner, go out diagonally about 1/4 of the way down and join it up to the edge with a horizontal line. Repeat this again, but ensure that the previous line highlights orange, indicating that your new line will be parallel to the last. Join it up to the side of the house again and repeat for the third line. For the last one, ensure the line is parallel to the last one, but also that it lines up to the bottom of the house like this. Then continue the line along the edge and close off the sketch at the top point. Now to add some smart dimensions to fully define the sketch. Start with this edge to the top point and make this 17mm. Then make this edge 3mm. Because all the diagonal lines have parallel relations, I can just select the 3 diagonal lines and check the equal relation. This fully defines the sketch. From here, select Extrude. You will need to select all the contours for the feature. Then change the direction to up to vertex. For this, select the top corner point here. Keep Merge Result ticked and OK it. Moving on to the top of the beehive, start a new sketch onto the front plane. Use the centre line and draw from the centre of this edge vertically to about here. It doesn't need to be exact. With the line selected, like before, turn on Dynamic Mirror Entities. Take the line tool and draw out a roof shape like this, ensuring the bottom line is horizontal and level with the top edge, and join it up to the centre line. To fully define, add a dimension from here to the midpoint and make this 38mm. Add a height dimension here to 12mm and an angle dimension of 112 degrees between these lines. Finally, add a relation to this line and this edge and make them parallel. This will fully define the sketch. Extrude the sketch and change the direction to offset from surface. Select the front face here for the surface and change the offset dimension to 3mm. You will need to reverse the direction to come out like this. Finally, untick Merge Result. This part needs to be a separate body for now. Next, I'm going to create the top bee hole of the house. Sketching onto the front face of the extrusion, draw a 9mm circle towards the centre of the face along the centre guides. Add a 9mm dimension to the circle, and from the circle to the top point of the roof, add a 10mm dimension. Then select the circle's midpoint and the axis point and add a vertical relation. This will fully define the sketch. Extrude cut the hole by 2mm. This opens up the body to be shelled from the cut face. Selecting the cut face here and the shell tool, ensure the shell thickness is 2mm and apply it. When I turn on section view from the right plane, you can see the inner cavities. I want to join and get rid of these walls here. To do this, firstly combine the 2 solid bodies together so that they become one whole part. Then select the top face through the cut hole to start a new sketch and view the model from the top. Turn on wire view with hidden lines. With the rectangle tool, start from this point and draw a 31 by 66mm rectangle like this. Add dimensions to fully define. I can then cut extrude the sketch viewing from the front. Change the direction to up to vertex. Select this corner point of the hexagon for the vertex and OK the feature. Now when I turn on section view again, the bees will now have access to the whole cavity. To be able to hang the house onto a fence or shed with a screw, I need to add a screw hole. Sketching onto the back face, keeping the wire view on, draw a 3.5mm circle centre to the cut circle like this. Then draw a 7mm circle vertically in line with the other circle just below, ensuring it isn't connected to an edge. You can draw this larger depending on the screw you're using. Then use the line tool to connect the circles from the side points of the smaller circle. Do this to both sides. Trim away all the inner entities. Using smart dimensions, add a dimension between these two lines here. This should be 3.5mm. Then add one to the larger circle. Add a distance relation from the bottom circle centre to the axis and make this 70mm. Then finally, selecting both circles' centre points, add a vertical relation. Extrude cut the screw slot by 2mm. Now for the decorative details, select the fillet feature and change the fillet dimension to 1mm. For this, I'm selecting the outer loop of the back face, all the side faces on both sides of the house, the front face outer loop, and the bottom face. I'm also filleting the inner corners of the frame. Once the fillet edges are all selected, apply them. For the next feature, I will be using Move Face, which you will find under Insert and Face. Ensuring Move Face Offset is selected, change the offset dimension to 2.5mm. Then select an inner face of a hexagon like this. A preview of the offset face appears like this. Select the other 5 faces of the hexagon. This will make the honeycomb hole smaller. When you select another face of a hexagon, the preview will look busier. It helps to look at the part from the front, so that you ensure to have all faces selected. You can untick Show Selection Bar if this is getting in the way of your selections. I'm repeating this to 2 other hexagon holes, spacing them all apart. Once I'm happy with the selection, OK the feature. I'm repeating the process 2 more times, only this time using a 2mm offset and selecting other hexagon holes. Finally, I'm offsetting faces by 1mm. For this I can select more, as I'm not making the holes too much smaller for the bees to still get inside. This is the result of all the moved faces. Finally, if you want to add the honey drips to the roof, start a new sketch onto this face and view normal to. Take the line and sketch from this point along the edge past the midpoint, and then hover over the end point of your line until it becomes an arc. Ensure the arc goes this way in and is level here so that you can create a semicircle. Sketch another small line in, don't worry about dimensions here, and add another semicircle going the other way. Repeat this process until you have 4 outer semicircles, and so that the last one joins up to the bottom edge. Close off the sketch along the roof edges. For the dimensions, each outer drip should be 4.5mm wide. Then all in between dimensions should be 6mm each. With those in place, you can add dimensions to the drips to define how long each drip will be. You can copy my dimensions if you want it to look the same, or play around with it. With the sketch done, extrude it. Change the thickness to 1mm first. I need this extrusion to go straight up, not following the roof angle. So selecting the direction box, select the straight edge of the cut here. The preview should look like this. With mid result ticked, OK the feature. I can easily mirror over the design by selecting this face and mirror. Under Features, select the extrusion and OK it. Fillet the top face of the honey drip extrusions by 0.75mm to soften the appearance. And there we have a bee house. You can save your part first. Then using Save As, change the file type to STL for 3D printing. Here is my 3D printed bee house. I'm hoping to see some happy bees using the house this spring and summer. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for watching.